Reason I'm here, I'm going to present you with a little material information about our agency, what our mission is, so that should we interact or integrate in some scenario, we know how to work with each other. A little story, we loaded a package onto a vehicle, departed Los Alamos National Labs, and drove through the night, downtown city streets, highways, interstates, ended up right out here in Nevada. A few hours later, we had one of the largest explosions known to man. Thank goodness, that was in 1945 and it was under our control. For obvious reasons, because of the capabilities of the cargoes that we transport, we want to ensure that they're secure. So our job in the Office of Secure Transportation is to provide safe and secure transportation for nuclear weapons components, and special nuclear materials. Throughout history, we've changed names several times. All that is presidential reorg charts and building smaller empires and things like that. But our name is Office of Secure Transportation. We move things via a couple of forms of transportation. We have a couple of 737-400 aircraft, and we move limited life components across the country with that. What that means to you as a first responder is it's a plane crash. Limited life components, they catch on fire, they burn themselves up. There's no radiological hazard. The hazards that you would deal with a normal plane crash are what you would deal with. There'd be a couple of agents, a couple of flight crew, and a couple of pilots, and then just a big mess. Our main bread and butter, or our main form of transportation, are the 18-wheeler tractor trailers. And by no means are these tractor trailers your average commercial tractor trailer. They're built specifically for our mission. We move items all the way across the United States. The round seals up there are the Department of Energy locations that we frequent. The American flags are the Department of Defense locations that we frequent. And then the agent shields up there are the 3 agent commands that we have. We have one located in Albuquerque, New Mexico on Kirtland Air Force Base. We have one in Amarillo, Texas at the Pantex facility. And we have one in Oak Ridge, Tennessee at the Y-12 facility. We send our agents to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Georgia, and then they'll do specialized training at our training academy out at Fort Smith, Arkansas at Fort Chaffee, where Elvis Presley went to boot camp, for all you rockers. Our headquarters is also located in Albuquerque, so we're a little bit away from the Washington, D.C. flagpole. A little bit about our agents. They are not pretty like this. Some of them could be that professional bodybuilder, and some of them could be that professional donut eater, and everything in between. No grooming standards, and plain clothes. So there's the opportunity for a blue on blue, or for guys to not recognize who the good guys are in certain situations. But the few things that kind of separate us from other law enforcement agencies or federal agencies are, one, our agents have to have a willingness to work around nuclear explosives. They will go into the trailers, they'll be hands-on, they'll check serial numbers, check tie-downs, stuff like that. So to ensure that we have the right people in place for access to nuclear weapons, we have what's called the Human Reliability Program. What that is a background investigation, a very thorough background investigation on steroids, and it's ongoing. The agents will have to see the psychiatrist. They'll dig into everything that the agents are into, their finances, their love life, their hobbies and everything, traffic citations. If you get too many of them, hey, you're out. But it's very thorough, and they try to ensure that we have the right people with access to nuclear weapons. The last, or second to the last bullet there, is one major difference between us and other law enforcement entities, and that is that through the Atomic Energy Act, we're given the authority to use deadly force for material, our cargo, which is very much different than most other law enforcement agencies who only use deadly force to preserve life. Again, we're plain clothes, no grooming standards. We seriously, we have the guys with, ink all over their neck, full sleeves, bald, long hair, short hair. Some of our guys, they'll compete with the Duck Dynasty guys, especially if, our guys are going to do tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. They'll let their beards grow down so that they can blend in well. But that in combination with the plain clothes, and we tell them earth tones. So it's, jeans, khakis, kind of neutral shirts and stuff like that. No insignia whatsoever, so there's no Department of Energy or anything like that on the shirts, or it's not a uniform, if you will. And then they'll have cover shirts to conceal their handguns and other gear that they're wearing. Every agent will have a shield and credentials to produce to identify himself. And the types of encounters that you might encounter, guys, are one, a hasty dismount. So this could be anything from the guys got out to deal with a vehicle breakdown or a collision or something like that. They're going to maintain a low profile and try not to attract a lot of attention. The other end of that spectrum is we fell under attack. Bullets were flying. They will move the vehicles to key terrain and deploy, or if the bullets are right on them, they're just going to deploy and get away from the bullet magnets, the vehicles. So they'll bail out. They'll have guns, ammo, and a radio at best. Civilian attire, so that's that worst case scenario for a blue-on-blue type of encounter. The other type of encounter is the guys have time, they're going to do a deliberate dismount. So if this is a vehicle collision, there's no threat, they're just going to bail out. They'll put on the road vests, they have federal agent on it. If it's a tactical event, they'll put on their level 4 vests, and that has federal agent patches, police patches, American flags flying forward. They put the multicam tops on. We do not have those ACU tops anymore, so it's all multicam tops. The helmets, and then the plain clothes underneath that. And again, they'll have their shield and credentials to identify themselves. The only markings on our vehicles are the U.S. government tags. So it's a white tag, blue letters, E for energy, and we are not the only entity in Department of Energy that has these tags. However, our tractor trailers are only identified with that tag. So there are no DOT markings, there are no placards, for obvious reasons. A little bit about our tractors. They are ballistically protected. So should you respond to, like, say, extract people from a collision or something like that, you might need a little extra tools or something like that to get into those vehicles. They're pretty tough. We put that 32-hour rule up there just to give you an idea of what the agents are going through. So there's 3 ranks out in the field. There's the federal agent, there's the vehicle lead or fire team lead, and there's the convoy commanders. So a week in advance, the convoy commanders will get their assignments. They will get their pickup locations, their drop-off locations, and so on and so forth. And they will design their routes accordingly. So they'll plan their routes with fuel stops, food stops, and where they're picking up, where they're dropping off, that type of stuff. And they'll plan their routes accordingly. They'll plan backup routes. They'll plan the tertiary routes. And they'll try to do some homework so that we know we're not pushing a convoy into harm's way. They'll call out and reach out to all the assets that we have available and try to get intel to ensure that we're not going into harm's way. The rest of the agents will only get a week in advance. They'll get, hey, you're leaving on this date. You're going to be gone for, say, 6 days with 2 nights in a hotel. So the day of the mission, they'll all come in. The convoy commanders will give that pre-mission brief, and everybody will be filled in on what the mission is. Up until that point, it's just the convoy commanders and intel group that have the knowledge of where and what that trip's doing. So they don't know if they're going into hot, cold, windy, up north, down south, to the west or east, any of that. They give that briefing the day they depart. Guys will all be aware of where they're going and everything, and then they'll load up the vehicles. They'll put their gear in there, their personal gear, their tactical gear, all that good stuff, and they'll depart. Once they roll out that gate, the clock starts ticking. 32 hours plus or minus from there, they will pull into a weapons storage area. Most of these are located on military installations where there is a dedicated protective force to guard that stuff. And while we hand that over to them and they put the protective force on the cargoes, we'll send our guys to 8 hours of bed rest. They'll get up and go hit it again. The longest mission I was ever on was 13 days. So you can imagine 13 days of being up or trying to sleep on bumpy roads and stuff like that. The guys can become fatigued. What that means to you is there's a higher probability of a collision, a car crash. And you know, the fatigue thing definitely adds to that probability. A little bit about the trailers. The safeguard transporters are designed to defend and protect the cargo without people being present. So they're very, very robust containers, and there are life-threatening deterrents built into them. So should something major happen and you were responding to that location, we will build a perimeter so that you encounter a federal agent before you get into harm's way. Should you be right on top of it, and there's always the chance of this happening, you be right on top of it and you see all the agents running away from the big silver boxes, be faster than the agents. Just don't go close to the big silver boxes. We'll make sure that we're all on the same page before we approach the trailers. Our escort vehicles come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. We have the van on the left, a standard utility size van. We have both 4x4 versions and 2-wheel drive versions. The top and bottom vehicles are 1-ton chassis pickups, and they have different, shapes of campers and stuff like that. And then the vehicle in the upper right, that tactical white vehicle, we have GMCs and Internationals, and they're like 450 and 550 chassis. Very much larger vehicles. And again, some ballistic protection, so we might need some extra tools should we have to dig into extract people. Again, the only markers are those U.S. government tags. Our TEC, our Transportation and Emergency Control Center, is located in Albuquerque, and this is our dispatch, or our radio. They have satellite tracking of all the vehicles and agents with radios, so they can tell you, where we're at. We have a very robust communications package, if you will, and some redundancies in there. However, the comms won't integrate with yours. So the way we overcome that right now is we pull your leader in the field into a unified command. If by chance somebody can't stay in the unified command to give directions to your own troops, then you're going out somewhere else and you need comms, we'll just hand you a radio. We've got lots of extra radios and we'll pass those out as necessary. But we'll try to make sure that we've got somebody in that unified command. We'll key the radios to the correct frequencies, make sure you understand how to operate it. We all have radios, so I'm sure it won't be that difficult. But we'll make sure that everybody has comms so that we're on the same page. Our Transportation Emergency Control Center, that's a 1-800 number to it. Should you have an emergency or you need to know something about it, you could contact that number and you'd get a real person. It's manned 24/7, 365 days a year. Again, you'll get a person and they have the knowledge. They have the knowledge of the personnel on the trip, they have the knowledge of the cargo and the vehicles, so they can answer a lot of questions. We make contact with as many first responders that we can, and we put that contact information into our computer system so that should something happen, we blow that blip up on the map and we start calling all these first responders firsthand. Now, that probably won't be the first call that you get. Theoretically it is, but because of the way things actually play out, you'll probably get a couple of calls from the agents in the field on scene. They'll call 911 with their cell phones, tell you what the scoop is, get that ball rolling. And you'll probably get a call from our tech, and they'll try to fill in the rest of the gaps that are missing. We will still notify our higher chain of command, if you will. We're going to notify the folks in D.C. We're going to notify Northcom. We're going to notify the FBI, and we're going to have that upper echelon start pushing the ball down and pushing that response down from the highest levels, of course. but we know that takes time, so we're going to call you direct. There'll be another point of contact for you, and probably a third or fourth call, and that is from our Emergency Operations Center. We'll activate that Emergency Operations Center. There will be a cadre position in there for law enforcement liaison, and that person is somebody like myself. We'll go in there, we'll look at what has happened, what the status of anything that's going on is, and we'll try to fill in the gaps. So we'll make backup phone calls to you and ensure that, hey, what response do you have going? Are you aware of what you're responding to? Are there any questions? Can we, make sure that we have that appropriate response heading to handle whatever that situation is? I don't take the pictures. You cops versus firefighter jokesters, Merry Christmas. I would never pose for something like that. But what we want you to know is everybody on the convoy is a federal agent. There's one type of mission that we do where we might have a contract driver or something like that. But if you were to respond to one of those scenarios, you would be confronted by a federal agent. And that federal agent has the paperwork. They have the firefighting guide numbers. They have the knowledge of what you are responding to. Other than that, all of our convoys are manned by all federal agents. The reason that we do it is because we operate in all the different operating spaces, to include yours. Military installations, Department of Energy installations, the public domain. We are actually taking nuclear weapons and cargoes into the public domain where Joe Schmo citizen can walk up, put his hands on a trailer, and be a couple of feet from a nuclear weapon. So we take our jobs very seriously. Should something happen, that convoy commander that signed for the nuclear cargo will assume that incident command role. He's going to start solving the problems as he sees. He's going to make decisions that will probably be long-term and affect many things down the road. But he's going to solve it the best that he can. Now trust me, he's not going to fight you for that incident commander position. He will gladly pass that off. The one thing that he cannot relinquish is security. We are given authority under the Atomic Energy Act. That bottom black box there, it gives us the authority to declare what's called a national security area. What this does is it gives us the ability to seize land to protect classified information. We're seizing it temporarily so that we can protect that classified information. It gives us a whole lot more authority inside that perimeter than just, say, a security perimeter. We will call on first responders, local law enforcement, state, county, and city to help us with many duties, to include crowd control and security perimeters and stuff like that. We're going to call on them for a lot of resources. Clearing the path for fire and EMS to get down to do life-saving things or put out fires and such. We will lay it out somewhat like this. We'll have that national security area, and that is as small as we can make it, but yet no larger than we can control by fire. So anything in there can catch a bullet. We can control that space so that there is never any access to a nuclear weapon. We'll build that outside perimeter, and that'll be manned by federal agents, local and state and city law enforcement. We're going to make sure that it's very well secure so that we have one entry control point, and that'd be upwind. The cargoes that we transport are very, very safe. Warheads are designed to go up into space, come back down on re-entry vehicles, hit the ground, and nothing happened, no dispersion. Bombs are designed to be dropped from 30,000 plus feet, hit the ground, nothing happened, no dispersion. I feel very confident when I'm on one of those convoys that, hey, I'm not going to get a radiological thing happen to me. It's not that is your threat. It's the things that we use to defend them. The small arms munitions, the HEDP rounds, the HE for breaching, in combination with large diesel fuel tanks and rubber tires and fire and those deterrents built into the trailer. That's the threat. So it's not anything that you haven't dealt with before should you respond to, a HE vehicle collision or something like that. So we'll build that entry control point upwind. We'll make sure that everybody who's coming in is logged in, and we have a record of who's there, how long you're there, all that good stuff. Inside that outer perimeter, we'll have a staging area. Should this be a tactical event, we are not sending firefighters or law enforcement downrange into any situation where there's a tactical threat out there. We will eliminate that tactical threat before anybody goes downrange. So we'll have you in that staging area. We will also have that command post, that unified command post inside that outer perimeter, so that the chaos is not affecting the work that we need to do. In a worst case scenario, should a nuclear weapon be on fire, we would issue a PAR card, a Protective Action Recommendation card. What that means to you, and there's a picture of it right there. I know you can't read it, but it looks like that card on the left. It's got that orange banner. Should you ever see that again, you know what it is. It's the scientists that know those hazards associated with our cargoes, very specific cargoes, and it says, you know, in this area, evacuate. In this area, shelter in place. In this area, wipe it off with 409. Whatever that hazard is, you know. And again, our cargoes are very, very safe. So using this is probably not going to ever happen. All the language comes out of the Emergency Response Guidebook. We will also have our paperwork, which has the firefighting guide numbers and line numbers, so that you guys are very well aware of what you're responding to and how we should proceed. The two types of scenarios where we would declare that national security area is, one, a terrorist attack. Anything perceived as a terrorist attack will be treated as such until we can confirm that it's not. And then the other is a collision or something so bad that we couldn't verify the integrity of the cargo. Now mind you, we have put actual shapes, sizes, weights of items in there, tied them down the way that we do our actual cargoes, and run these things into reinforced concrete walls at highway speeds. And the cargoes were right where they were supposed to be. The vaults are very, very robust. That also creates another problem, especially for life-saving people like yourselves. Whatever that vault hits, it destroys. When we ran that thing into the reinforced concrete wall, that tractor disintegrated. Should it hit another pedestrian car, there's a high probability that it could do some serious damage. Something you might need to know. In any scenario where we call on help, our goal is a unified command. So we're not that agency that says, hey, we're the feds, you're going to do what I say. We don't operate like that at all. That's not how we do business. We realize we need you to help us. We can't do all this stuff by ourselves should something bad happen. So we're going to pull you into that unified command. We're going to let you do the things that you do best. We're going to work all the issues out as a team. We're going to come up with a plan to solve the problems so that we're effective in getting this thing resolved as quickly and efficiently as possible. We know that bad things happen, whether they be natural or man-made. But again, that one thing that we can't give up is security. Our guys must maintain security. There would be a huge amount of people coming to save the day from local resources as well as national assets. There are many, many teams that would come and they know the physical aspects, the scientific aspects of what we're doing. So they can make sure that the air is clear, the ground is clear, or no hazards are on there, or no spillages, or how to clean up any fluids on the ground or something like that, whatever it is. They can make the trailers safe, the cargoes safe, so that we can get it out of the public domain and back where it needs to be. But there would be a ton of these people coming to save the day. They would all be more important than you or I should we be out there in this deal, or so they will think. So we'll need help managing this mass of people that are coming to help us save the day. The other big problem is the media. They're trying to do their jobs, we get that, but our agents will not speak to the media. We're instructed not to. So we realize that as fire and law enforcement, you guys must give press releases and stuff like that. Again, that's why you're in that unified command. You're getting real-time information from that convoy commander who has the intimate knowledge of that cargo and what it is. So you guys will get that real information. We will vet anything for a press release through our headquarters, ensure that we're not giving out any classified information, make sure that we're not giving out any information that could cause a problem should there be an investigation going on or a pursuit or something like that. We're going to make sure that we're not giving any help out to the bad guys. We've sent letters out to all the governor's offices of the states that we pass through, and you'd be amazed because we ask for a 24/7 point of contact for law enforcement and emergency management in case of a nuclear emergency. And we get no responses, we get invalid numbers, we get answering machines and stuff like that. So we realize that the political monster is not something that we're going to even mess with. We're going to call you guys direct. We're going to send our notifications up the flagpole and we're going to call you direct. And somewhere in the middle, we're going to get this problem solved efficiently. We have a liaison support branch. That's what I'm doing here. And my job are the 11 western states. There's another guy in the central states and then a third guy on the eastern states. So my job in those 11 states is to reach out to all law enforcement, whether it be city, state, counties, all fire, EMS if they're separated, emergency managers, or anyone else who might have a need to know in all those states, and give them this briefing. Now, there's absolutely no way that the three of us could handle all of the agencies across the United States and give them this briefing. So what we do is we call on you guys. And we ask you, when you go out and you do your cross training, or you go to your schools, or you're on vacation and you have friends that are in like professions that might have a need for this information, tell them about that briefing that you got. And that Tate Moots, he's one heck of a presenter and a good-looking guy to boot. Entertaining. You should hear this. And we greatly appreciate your help in that. We will send out priority intelligence requirements, and it's not just the terrorist nexus that we're looking for. We're looking for any hazard that we could encounter that would put us in harm's way. It's not just the terrorists, it's the anti-government guy, it's the outlaw motorcycle gangs, it's the rallies or protesters, whatever you can think of that might cause us a problem. Again, we have government tags and we're plain clothes, so we've been mistaken for other agencies than what we really are. You know, we've been mistaken for, hey, we're taking down this guy's drug load, or we're, going to interfere with this guy's criminal activity. But we want to stay out of that problem. When I was a sheriff's deputy, we had two families. You know, if you got a call from that you were responding to either the Loonies or the Smarts resident, hey, you were dealing with somebody that was on meth, and you were going to have a fight on your hands. And that's where you guys come in. Like I said, we are neighbors passing through, and you know the lay of the land way better than we would. So you know your standard problem children. You know if we're in this area and something's going wrong a whole lot better than we possibly would. If we catch somebody in their planning phase, we'll win. If somebody wants to do harm to one of our convoys, they're going to have to do some homework. They're going to have to probe the convoys and see what our reaction times are. They're going to see how we react. They're going to gain positions of advantage somewhere and glass us to see what our configurations are. They're going to do all this homework, and that's where you guys will pick them up. Again, you're familiar with what goes on around here day in and day out. So you're going to pick up on all these little telltale signs, whether it's somebody out in Billy Bob's field doing vehicle assaults, and that's not normal, something like that. Or if it's the guys that are on this building with binoculars and spotting scopes and stuff like that in a place that's just out of the norm. We are not the agency that if you gave us a piece of intel, we're going to say, yeah, whatever. We're not those guys. We're going to take your information. Thank you very much. If you get anything else, send it this way because it's an important mission. And if we take that one piece that you give us and another piece that somebody else gives us and we put it together and we solve the problem, we win. If we wait until they're action on target, we lose. We know we have people that want to do us harm, and they are successful. They're always plotting to do harm to us, and they think outside the box. If we could anticipate everything that they were going to do, we'd never have any problems whatsoever. But we don't. We don't anticipate everything we do. So we also ask you to think outside the box. Come up with those ways to figure out what's going on around us so that we can put those pieces together. We know we have homegrown jihadists that want to do us harm. They're inside the United States. They roam freely. Our laws protect them. We can't just boot them out of the country, and we can't just lock them up because our laws protect them. So we've got to outsmart them, outthink them. Used to be in the Border Patrol, and believe me that caches like this are all over. Drug cartels have amazing resources. They are well funded. The drug industry produces so much money, it's unreal. We don't even understand how much money it is. We used to go to shooting matches down south, and there was known cartel players that were at the shooting matches, and they were very talented. They were very good, and guys would freak out because they're like, oh my goodness, that guy is so amazing. But that's the bad guy. They have amazing resources. So the terrorists are also tied into the drug cartels. That's where the money's at. That's how they get their resources. They're very well funded. When I was a Border Patrol agent, they said that if we caught a third of the narcotics coming across the border, we were doing a great job. That's a horrible statistic to you and me. But that's fact. Things come across the border, things can be smuggled pretty easily. And if you send multiple doses of it in different directions, the likeliness of it getting, at least one or two of them getting through are very, very good. So, that's a big load of dope. That's typical on the border. But if that's a load of explosives and it comes next to one of our convoys, that's absolutely a game changer for all of us. And so with that, I ask you, do you have any questions of me? Come on, I know you got some questions. Yes, sir.
What kind of automated deterrents do you have on your vehicles? You said something about those, right?
Okay, yeah, I can't go into what the deterrents are. All that would be classified. But we're not going to send you in harm's way. This is my contact information. Again, if you guys have any piece of intel that would keep us out of harm's way, call that 1-800 number. If you've got a follow-up question or something like that, give me a shout. If you have somebody that needs the briefing or something like that, give me a shout. We'll be happy to give them the briefing. What else? Come on, I know you guys have some questions. I know I'm good, but not that good. Well, if you think of something, let us know. Other than that, thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. And, hopefully we never have to work together in a bad situation, but if we do, I'd much rather you know about it and understand what you're responding to than, have to figure it out on the fly. So, have a great day. Appreciate it.
Thank you.